sometimes I may feel like I'm in the back burner,
Right.
but it's not really that. It's we're evolving as humans, which is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So yeah, you're marrying the unknown, and you know, again, like, how do men deal with that? How do women deal with that? So
Right.
it's never a thing where it's just a one script, one blueprint. You're
Right.
continuously trying to figure things out, communication, and I want to have real conversations about how people deal with these things.
Yeah.
Yo, live and in the building. I'm your host, John Reese. This is Inside the Mind, and I am blessed to have this young lady here again after the internet butchered our last episode. So I'd like to apologize, but allow me to reintroduce her. Of course, she turned pro in 2020 at the Universe. She's done 14 pro shows and also has qualified for 2 Olympias, and hopefully, I have no doubt in my mind she'll qualify for another one. I have Miss Devyn in the building. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm good. So, to dive in to the Inside the Mind podcast, since we've had a previous discussion, I would like to know what mental health means to you and how it contributes to your competitive side within the IFBB realm.
I would say mental health is like a healthy balance. It's the same whenever it comes to life. You can't say like, oh, mental health, I need to be happy like all the time. Of course, that's not possible. You know, you're going to go through ups and downs, but like you have to be able to balance those things out. You have to have somewhat of a positive outlook on things, which I think that I have transitioned to. I haven't always been this person. I was super pessimistic for a very long time. I guess I would even say for some parts of my life, I had a little bit of a victim mentality. Whenever things would happen, like bad things, I'm like, why does this happen to me? Why does bad things always happen to me? And like, poor me, you know? And I mean, I know we talked about this before, but that also probably was leading into like a lot of my problems with addiction. And it wasn't until, you know, I started coming out of that, learning better coping skills and learning more just about how to have a better outlook on life, that I started taking a lot of negative experiences and just tried to figure out like, what is this teaching me? How is this helping me? Like, how can I grow from this? And I think that has been a huge player in what has made me successful in the IFBB.
Nice. That's amazing, actually, because, you know, and I'll speak on myself. Like, when I'm in prep, things seem to just always go wrong. Like, something's gonna happen, something's gonna come up, family, friends, food, like whatever. Like, you're gonna be around something that's gonna try to be a detriment to your process. So for you to have that balance now and, you know, triumph, you make it to 2 Olympias, really, that, like, I think that's so dope. How do you find that balance though? Because it can be difficult. It's difficult for me now. I'm in prep now. So, like, how do you find that balance?
I think whenever we talk about, I mean, we talk about balance all the time whenever it comes to bodybuilding, and it's true. Like, whenever you're in prep, there is no balance. Like, you try to balance, you try to, you know, prioritize the things that are important. But if you are prepping for a show and you're trying to be your best, especially at a high level in the IFBB, going to Olympia, you kind of have to tip the scales more towards your prep than you do other things. But the goal is to not tip it so far that you're throwing everything else out of whack. You have to understand that you know, this isn't, and I've talked about this before, like, bodybuilding is not paying my bills. It is not making me money to where I can just do bodybuilding all the time. I do have a young son. He has to take priority. So it's really for me figuring out how far I want to tip the scales. And for me, there is I can just look at something very objectively and just be like, okay, like and I take it on a day by day basis when I'm in prep. Like looking at this, if my son's sick, if my son winds up being sick, he's very young. He still like wants to like need me, cuddle me, stuff like that. I can't just leave him at home in his bed and like go run and do something because he's not at that age yet. If he was like 16, I'd be like, yeah, son, like go to bed, like I'll be back later. My son's not at that age. So when stuff like that pops up, it's just like, okay, like, do I drag him out the house being sick to the gym with me? Or do I put him first and just understand that, I need to be here, I need to take care of him and like skip the gym that day? Because
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a single mom. Like, I mean, I do co-parent with his father, but when I have him, he's mine. Like, he's me. I'm a single parent that day. So it's really just those sort of things is how I balance. I can't say like on a whole scale of like just my entire prep. I have to balance on a day to day as things come up because things are going to come up, like you said, and I just have to look at them one at a time.
right. And that's I struggle with that in the beginning because again, like I would like to say I'm fairly new to the sport. I started in 2019. So initially, like when I'm given a plan, like I try to stay regimented. Like, oh, I have to do things this time, like no matter what. And right when I started competing, my wife was pregnant, then we had our daughter, and I'm still trying to be regimented, and my whole life just literally turned upside down. So I struggled a little bit with the erraticness, if that's a word, of like the scheduling and stuff like that. So which brought on stress to me because I'm thinking like, oh, I'm missing something or I need to do this at this time. And if I don't do it, oh, I'm behind 2 days now, or like whatever the case is. Like those thoughts always come in. Do you ever have thoughts like that, even though you're prioritizing your son and your work, your life priority, all that's beautiful, but do you ever have thoughts of like all those things kind of creeping in, which kind of converts into stress sometimes?
Oh, all the time. Like I that's pretty much how my life lives. Like even outside of prep, it's just maybe that's part of just being a parent in general. But
Mhm.
I wear a lot of hats on a regular basis, and I'm constantly just trying to figure out like, am I doing too much here? Am I not doing enough there? And how do I try to like make everyone happy as well as take care of my own like mental health as well, like as my own physical health, my mental health, like how, and it's like some days are better than others. Some days I sacrifice my time, my sleep, my sanity to make sure other things are done. Probably more
Yeah.
times than not. I mean, and I think that's part of us, like as parents. I mean, even more so as mothers, because as mothers we have that more nurturing nature about us, and we tend to put a lot of people before ourselves.
So what would you tell, because I have a client, she just had twins and then she had two kids prior. So fresh, new set of twins like 2 months ago. And she wants to jump back into the competing realm, but I'm looking at it from a standpoint of always safety. Like, okay, like I get you want to jump back in, but like where are you at mentally? Like what would you tell someone, especially a mom who, has kids and or just had, twins and want to like jump back into the competing thing right away? Do you think it's safe or do you think they should wait? Like, or what's the best advice you can give them?
And I'll say this is strictly my opinion, but I normally tell women who want to go back to competing after kids to at least wait a year. Because I mean, from a physical standpoint, like your hormones need to re-regulate, but from like just parenting standpoint, like you need that time to like bond with your kids. Like that first year, 2 years are like so important. And I understand the want to get back into it. I started prep for my first show whenever my son was a year old, And it's like, oh, I want this baby weight to come off. Like, I want to get back on stage. I want to look the way I used to look. And
Mm-hmm.
um, but on top of that, it's like there's a lot of emotional stuff that you go through. And you can think that, like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'm ready, but it's just like your hormones need to balance out. Like your emotional well-being needs to balance out. And when you have a new baby, I mean, those things, I like to say that's like a terrorist just gets dropped in your household. Like they will turn everything upside down. And you never really know like how things are going to turn out, especially if you have one kid, that doesn't mean the next one's going to be the same.
Get Miss Devyn back in here, man. As you can see, man, it's a lot of knowledge she's dropping. Um, I wanted her on here, man, because she's very blunt, very honest and truthful about, what she goes through as a mom. And just, I feel like her insight to not just women in bodybuilding, but women in general is very important to hear. Like she's experienced a lot. So that's why I definitely like wanted to have her on here. Think we got her back on. You good? Yeah. See, I learned this time when you have that. You exited. I did an intermission. I talked about you. All good stuff, though. All good stuff. But okay, so how long have you been off stage?
Oh, I think my last show was in October.
Okay, so October of 22, right?
No, I just competed
Oh,
last year.
oh, you did. I'm
Remember
bugging out. I'm
Cemetery?
bugging out.
Like
I'm tripping. You did.
three-ish
Yeah.
months.
Right. All right. How's off season treating you? You went from being totally shredded, killing it, to the holidays, one of the best and worst times as a bodybuilder. So, how's that transition been?
So I mean, I'll admit, like I had every intention of like, I'm just gonna do this for first, gonna go into this off season and start growing and doing X, Y, and Z. But I looked at this past season and I realized that like I probably should have not competed this year, to be honest. I had my doubts at the beginning of the year of whether or not I should have taken time off or pushed through and competed. And this year was a really just hard year for me with the way my schedule was. It was so difficult trying to like make that work. I had worked nights before. I didn't work nights as consistently and as much as I worked this year. I was, full time, if not overtime, working night shift. And before it was like, I was like half and half. I'd do like half days, half nights. And I was able to work that a little bit better. But this year was very hard trying to make everything just pull together.
Mhm.
And the other thing is I wasn't exactly peaking right for my shows. Some of it was stuff that like me and my coach looked at and it was just like our peaking protocols could have been different. But like my last show, we did everything the way we were supposed to do it and it bombed. And I think it was mainly because my body needed a break. I had been
Okay.
needing a break. I haven't taken more than 8 weeks off since I started prep in 2020. Like 8 weeks was my off season. And that's not a real off season. That's not enough time
Wow.
to like really give my body a break. And I kind of knew that at the beginning of this year, but that FOMO, like, it gets you to where it's just like, oh no, I can't. I got to try to go back to the Olympia. I can't miss out on another year. And so I did it, and it just didn't work out the way it should have. And that's in a way, it's kind of my own fault. So I kind of was just like, I was really like not feeling it after my last show. I was really upset that like things kind of went down the way they did. I got my worst placing ever as a pro. Not placing wise as in like the number, because of course like I came in like 16th at Olympia, 15th at like my first pro show, I think it was. But looking at the lineup, and this is no like offense to any of the girls that I competed against, but looking at the talent that was there and where I placed, that was the worst I've ever placed was at my last show. And so that really sucked. And I kind of just was like, forget this. Like holidays are here. I haven't really like put 100% effort into my family for a very long time. I was just like, I'm just gonna use this time to spend as much time as I can with my son, with my family, and just pull back on a lot of things bodybuilding. And, that's what I've done. I still maintain a relatively healthy diet. I don't go to the gym, 5, 6 days a week. I actually started doing CrossFit just because it's enjoyable. It's different. It like keeps things fun. But I do have a plan in place. I am going to go into a very structured health phase starting in February. And
Okay.
then after a few months, once we get my hormones regulated and my gut health fixed, because I've been knowing I had gut health issues probably for a good year now, and we've just like been putting it off, and that in and of itself is going to mess up a prep, you know.
Mm.
And so we're going to fix that, and then really go into a good growth phase. So yeah, I'm taking this year off. I'm like a real off season to do prep. I guess prime my body for a better prep.
Yeah, I remember when we talked last time. I thought you were taking the year. That's why I said 22. I thought you were taking the whole year off, but I get it because I did the same thing in 2022 as well. So, where I should have took the whole year off, I looked at the schedule and was like, "Oh, there's a show in 10 weeks. I think I can knock off 25 pounds in 2 weeks. Why not? Or 10 weeks? Why not?" And did it, and then came in. It wasn't my best look. I posted sometimes people say, "Oh, it's," and I'm like, I know the standard I have for myself. And ironically, Antoine won that damn show. So we both know. so, so it's out here in San Diego. But I had no business on that stage,
Mm.
even if it was my pro debut. And I went into like this 6 week spiral of, you know what? I'm about to eat everything. I don't care. I was so mad at everything and everyone but the person in the mirror. So like I totally get it. So with you getting ready to, first of all, with you having that time for your family and kind of sitting back and kind of collecting your thoughts about what happened, how beneficial you feel like that was for you?
Oh, like 1,000%. Because one of my biggest issues was like, along with like why my gut health sucks, why my hormones are off, is the stress factor. I have been told for years like I needed to decrease stress, outside stress, emotional stress, physical stress, and I'm just like, no, I'm good. Like I can do this. A
Mm.
1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day. Like that's what I used to run off of. Like that's just how my body works. That was always like my excuses. I mean, any of my previous coaches who see this are gonna be like slapping me in the head, because they have been telling me for years, you need to decrease stress. And I'm like, how do I decrease stress with my life, with my job, with my son, with prepping for a show? Where do I decrease this stress? Please explain to me, because I don't know where I'm supposed to do this. But I think this is kind of what it took. Like it took me just really taking a big step back and just putting almost 100% focus on just my son, my family. And I sleep better now. I don't nearly drink as much caffeine as I do. I mean, like 1, 2 cups of coffee and I'm good. I can make it through a whole night
Wow.
shift at work, when normally I was like 4 cups of coffee and an energy drink. And that was because my body was just crashing. Like
Mm.
it was done. And so like now I don't always sleep great when I work night shift. I still have, but on the days that I'm off, I'm sleeping better because I'm not having to do 2 hours of cardio, an hour in the gym, driving back and forth, like trying to fit everything in not enough time. So I definitely think it's hopefully my cortisol will be lower now, because it's like if after all this my cortisol is still high, I give up. I don't know what else to do.
And that's like, so same thing. Like I stress about like, okay, what's to come, any changes, okay, how can I manage that? And of course, being a parent, I've never, this is where all these grays come from. I did before parenthood, my daughter's 4 now. There was no grays. They're all here now, like full blown. So but I accept it because I mean that's the I guess the gift and the curse of like parenthood. Like you're worried about a human, a whole human that's yours. So like yeah, keeping those levels down like can be difficult, but I think that's dope that you actually had that time to step away because that's the reason why me and my family went to Hawaii. And even when I got to Hawaii, I found myself like, okay, I need to try to manage this and manage that. It took me like 10 hours. You know what? I should not care about none of that. I'm about to go eat. I'm about to just embrace this time. And that's when I felt everything kind of just like woosed off for a little bit. And I was able to enjoy it. I enjoyed the holidays. And I just tell myself wherever I'm at is where I'm going to be at come January 1st. And that's when we'll start. And I'll select shows and be strategic from there. That's
Yeah.
all I can do. So I'm glad you found that clarity and not drinking 1,000 milligrams of caffeine because I do when I
Dude, when
remember
I
you
tell
told me
you
that
for
I was
like for 2 years, like that's what I was running on. Like it was really bad. And it was funny. I used to say all the time, like, why when I'm in prep, my resting heart rate would go down. I'd look at my Apple Watch and I'm like, see, my heart rate's in the 50s. If I wasn't drinking this much caffeine, I'd probably die. The caffeine is literally
uh,
keeping me alive at this point. It was always a running joke, but yeah, I just
mm,
it's amazing how I didn't realize how stressed I was until I de-stressed. Cause
mm,
I tell like my coach now, like I don't feel like my central nervous system is like about to explode. Like, and it's something that I can't really explain. And I wouldn't say that whenever I was in it, I felt it. But now that it's not there, it's like now I know what like internal calmness feels like.
all right. So you're doing CrossFit as well as sleeping better. What else is working for you to kind of keep or to give you that internal calmness?
I think, like I said, just time with my son, like having those moments, like just to experience like day to day life with him and not have to be on a regimented schedule. I mean, you have kids, so you know what it's like. Like just little things that they do make you appreciate having children
Hmm.
so much, appreciate like being a parent. And it may not even be like big things, like big accomplishments. It's just like little things that he does throughout the day that like is a milestone for him. It's just like, wow, I actually get to see this and experience it and not just be like, oh, okay, son, yeah, that's good. Come on, let's go to the gym. Like, you get to be in moments, in those moments that like you're never gonna get back.
Yeah, that's so dope. I agree. I know was this yesterday? No, 2 days ago. My daughter's on like this writing kit. So of course most kids have tablets and she has like an iPad. We put a lot of educational stuff on there just so she can, do that stuff before she goes into her like parental advised YouTube channel, whatever. But she's we'll put like a name down. Like, so I put my name down, or my wife put her name on the paper, my name, and she'll try to like copy, and she'll get like maybe 4 out of the whatever many letters that's in my name, and then I'm looking at it like, yo, like you're really getting this. Like this is so dope. And then she's just so excited, like, look, daddy, I wrote your name. And of course it's not our writing, but it's like the fact that you're actually trying and you're getting some of it right, like I think that's so dope. So
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so yeah, stay in those moments, and it's kind of like the same thing in prep. Like we tell ourselves, try to stay in the moment, try to do that. I'm pretty much what this is day 5, and already even today I was like, I do not feel like doing faster cardio. Like I do not. But I did it. I did my 40 minutes. So like I'm here, I'm in it, and I'm kind of glad to be, back in prep. Son, in some ways I am envious of you because you're getting ready to take a year off. I took a year off. I know what that did for me, but how do you envision this year going from not only a physical side but for a mental side for you? Because for me, I spent probably half the year scratching an itch that I wish would go away. Like, I want to go on stage, I want to go on stage. So like, how do you envision this year going for you?
I'm not gonna lie. I've already, when the schedule came out, looked at it and be like, oh, maybe I could get this one in. Like if I let this go to about this day and then start prep on this day, I'd be ready for this show and like
Uh-huh.
maybe I'd be able to do it. Um, but I have a lot of other things planned for this year, so I think I'm gonna have a lot to keep me busy. I'm still gonna be like in the bodybuilding community. I'll still be at some shows. I'm actually next weekend going to Sean's Couture's, who's my suit sponsor. She does an
Mhm.
all women's bodybuilding conference every year.
Nice.
With a lot of like top level pros. So I'm going to be speaking over there. I've done it for the past 2 years. So like doing stuff like that to keep me in the bodybuilding world, I think will help to not be competing this year. I'm taking my son on a cruise because we haven't really been on like a big vacation since he was really, really little. He don't even remember it. So that's another thing. I'm actually, I mean, randomness. Like I'm getting like crowns on my teeth, which is totally like a random story about how like I got in a really bad accident like 10 years ago, broke
Oh
like a
wow.
bunch of my teeth in the front. They're not even real. So I've been needing crowns for like a while, but now that I'm not competing and I have like extra funds, like I got extra money to do stuff like go on vacation, get
There you
these
go.
things fixed that I've been needing for like a while. Um, so yeah, I've got a lot of things planned for this year that I think hopefully will keep me busy enough to where I can keep myself away from that FOMO feeling.
Hey, man, look, I had it so bad last year, and it in the beginning it was like, it wasn't until the summer. And I was like, man, all these people qualifying, and I haven't qualified for an Olympia yet. It's the dream, it's the vision. You got to put in the work, but it's like, man, I got all the in California, it's muscle contest, so they always have at least 3 or 4 men's physique pro shows here. Then they got one in Arizona. Then they got the Seattle. Like I don't even have to leave the West Coast if I didn't have to. So it was like, man, I really want to do it. And I'm staring at the schedule for nothing because I know I have no business looking at it. And that's I swear that schedule it's the enemy. Because soon as it drops, you're like, okay, what are we doing? Like, where am I
Yep.
going? So when it came out this year, I was like, okay, I don't have necessarily the itch anymore because I know I'm going to compete, like God willing, and nothing happens. So I feel you. Just don't scratch it.
Oh,
That's all
trust
I'm
me. I
telling
know. I know. Like you said, and then shows are gonna start coming up, and I even did it last year. Like,
you.
like I said, nothing against other people, but I'm still a competitive person by nature. You see, like people coming out and people winning shows, and it's just like I could have beat that girl. I could
Yeah.
have qualified. Say, why didn't I do this show? Say, I'm so stupid. I should have did this show.
See,
And like, I could have been going to Olympia now, but no, I wanted to
man.
like wait until the end of the year when everybody and their grandma is trying to qualify for Olympia, and then you try to strategize like, okay, I'm gonna be ready early so I could do this show, and I'm like, no, like just chill out, like let it go. You're not competing this year, like accept it, move on.
Right, and your age is a little bit bigger than mine because you've made it to the grand stage, the one that I watch on pay-per-view every year. So I think it's dope for you to kind of sit back and just embrace this me time, this family time. And again, I'm a big advocate of self-care, no matter what that looks like to whoever. And I feel like how you described your 2024 and how you're looking at it, yeah, I think you'll be in a better place come 2025 and come out, guns blazing and get back to the rightful stage that you belong on, which is Olympia, because I know that's what you're looking at. So
You
um
have to. Like once you get there, it's like it's that's the expectation, right? Once you've been
mhm.
to the Olympia, like and I even said last year or no, year before, is that I had to qualify for the Olympia again to prove to myself, to prove to whoever else that my first year wasn't a fluke, that it wasn't an
Mhm.
accident. Because like I've said before, I got to the Olympia my first year with a second place finish because that was the rules that year. First and second
Yeah.
qualified. And so I always had this feeling that like I didn't quite earn my spot. I didn't win a show. Didn't even win on points. They still had point system, but I didn't technically have enough points to make it to the Olympia. I was second place, and that was an automatic qualification. So when 2022 happened, I was just like, I have to go back to the Olympia to prove that I really do belong there, that it wasn't an accident. And so now I've been twice. Okay, it wasn't an accident. So now every show that I do that I don't win, it's almost like, why? Why didn't you win? You've been to the Olympia.
Gotcha.
Like, how are you not at your best? Like, there's this expectation now. And so it gets harder, I guess you can say. It's almost like less room for error once you've reached that point. Because you got that idea that you should know better. You should know better than to not bring your best. You should know better than to not peak correctly, stuff like that. I don't know who makes these rules. I think I make these rules for myself sometimes, and I get
No,
very much in my head.
that's you and I'd say damn near the whole league. I'd say that because even for me, again, I had no business doing that show, but I went in with the expectations like, yo, I want to win because we're naturally competitive, even though we'll probably tell someone else, like, look, the elite is the elite. You just keep working, you'll get back to it eventually. Your time is your time, all the cliche stuff. All that cliche stuff go out the window when we talking to ourselves. Like,
Hmm.
no, like I want to win now. And then our coach would tell us the cliche stuff, but we ain't trying to hear that. So you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Mm. So last question before I let you go. I promise I wouldn't keep you on here too long because I appreciate your time. Can you provide some advice to those who may be going into an off season? And the premise to this question is because some of the clients that I coach or stories that I hear is people want to keep their stage body forever, knowing that stage body only lasts for 15 seconds. So, what advice would you give to those going into an off season as far as how to keep themselves composed?
I would say, first of all, don't don't look at social media. First and foremost, like, do not look at social media. Do not compare yourself to other people. Everyone is going to walk their own path, whether it comes to prep, whether it comes to off season. Um, I'll tell on myself right now, like, am I probably have a higher body fat percentage than I should have in off season? Yep, I do. And I know that. But you know what? That's me. That's my life. That's what I'm doing with myself. You don't have to be like me, but I'm going to own what's going on with me. And I'm going to own the fact that I'm happy right now and that I'm doing my thing and I'm, living my life for what is serving my purpose at this point in time. But also understand that there are people who make money off of the way they look, and they have to
Mm.
maintain a certain amount of leanness year round. And that doesn't necessarily mean that is going to be the best when it comes to a growth phase, if that's their goal. If they need that first stage, if they need to grow, then having a less than, like, having too little body fat is not going to benefit you during a growth phase. It's not going to benefit you during a health phase. We as women need a certain amount of body fat to restore our menstrual cycles. And so
Mm.
that right there is like a huge thing for us, especially as women. Especially as women, we need more body fat on a normal basis than men do. So I see all these people who a lot of times will be like, oh, I'm going to do a lean bulk during my growth phase and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I mean, I've done it long enough to where, like, I know what I'm capable of when it comes to prep. I know how long it'll take me to cut down. And I know what I need to do to get back there. I've been playing this game for, years now and going back and forth. And it's probably not the smartest idea to yo-yo so far. But like I said, I have other things that is going on in my life than just prep, than just an off season, than just getting back to stage.
Mhm.
And right now in my off season, like, that's what's important to me. I'm still like growing. I mean, I did the same thing last year during my off season. I still grew in my off season, and I still cut down for my show and didn't lose any muscle, even though I had a good amount of fat to lose. So it's gonna, I mean, I hate to say like it's gonna be individualistic because it is always with everything with bodybuilding. It's gonna be individualized. But the biggest thing is that people always want to compare in this sport. I mean, in life, they always want to compare themselves to someone else. And everyone is not living your life. Everyone isn't living in your body. And so what one person needs or what one person is doing for them is not going to apply to you. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people ask or when people talk about like how much their body weight is. Like people ask me all the time, "Oh, what was your stage weight? What's your off-season weight?" Like it doesn't freaking matter. Like who cares? When it comes to this sport, the only thing that matters is how you show up on show day, what you look like on show day.
That's it.
Not in the off season, not a year out from a show, not 2 weeks out from a show. How you show up on stage is all that matters. So ultimately, you have to live your life and do what makes you happy. And like we talked about the balance before, don't keep throwing all your eggs in one basket to where you miss out on everything else. And if you're so worried, even during, I mean, prep is enough of a stressor and enough of a time consuming thing. Like I said, you have to tip the scales a little bit more towards prep when you're in prep. Like, don't do that during your off season too. Like your off season is your time to like give back to those other areas of your life that you kind of neglected a little bit during prep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I heard what she said. She was kind of talking to me too, so don't worry about it. Ms. Devyn, oh, thank you so much for being accommodating. I know I've been bothersome as far as
No,
trying to get you back on here. And I just feel like again, like your wisdom that you provide to this it's very valuable. And of course I listen as well because I can learn from this as well, even though I'm asking questions. So I appreciate you so much for taking the time, and do not scratch that itch, please.
no. I'm good. Thanks for having me back though.
No problem. Stay on for a little bit. All right, we'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.